Hey everybody, in this video I did 100 6.2 solo dungeon maps and tracked the rewards. I'm going to be comparing the results to some of my other videos, namely the tier 6 maps and the 6.1 maps, so if you haven't checked those ones out, make sure you do. I'll put the links in the description. So I did these dungeons out of White Bank Wall, a tier 6 zone a little bit outside of the Fort Sterling portal zones, which is isolated from other tier 6 zones, which is really important because you don't want your maps popping to other tier 6 zones when you're trying to do them. However, if you're planning to do tier 6 maps, I wouldn't suggest this zone because it was oddly really hot. There's a lot of other people in the zone and gankers constantly, so it's actually quite dangerous, and next time I'll probably look for a different map if I'm going to do more tier 6s. In fact, while I never got dove because of the new changes to dungeons closing a minute 30 after they enter, I did get ganked 7 times while traveling to and from the zone or between dungeons, and actually did die once. However, I didn't have any loot on me, so it won't affect the final price check. For my build, I used a pretty standard spear build that you can see on screen here with the Stalker Hood, Cleric Robe, and Refreshing Sprint on the shoes. Now for most of the dungeons I was using tier 9 equivalent on all the gear, however after the death for the last like 10 or so dungeons I was using tier 8 equivalent. In total, all 100 dungeons took me 12 hours and 30 minutes, which comes out to an average of around 7 minutes and 30 seconds per dungeon. Now it's important to note that this would probably take a lot longer for most people, as I was using probably one of the most efficient clearing builds in the game with the one-handed spear, and I was using very high tier as well, tier 9 for the majority of it. For example, just for reference, the 6.1 dungeons that I did took me 2 hours longer than this one with a slightly worse build. Moving on to take a look at some stats here, I went through 158 floors, which is right around the average of what I would expect based on my other map videos. However, very weirdly in this one I never got a single 3-floor dungeon. They were all 1 floor or 2 floor, which is very, very unusual, and I'm guessing that's just some weird luck. Again, similar to other maps that I've done, I got around the same amount of buff shrines as I did floors with 178 buff shrines. This one was a little bit higher that time, but I think that's again just due to variation. And for the buff shrines, we got 59 green, 63 white, and 56 red, which is right around what's expected. Moving on to the loot chests, we got 46 green chests, 123 blue chests, 28 purple chests, and 3 legendary or gold chests. These numbers are pretty much right in line with the flat 6 dungeons as well as the 6.1 maps. However, for the fame chests, again we see that there's a slight increase for higher tier maps with 6 green, 10 blue, and 4 purple, totaling to 979 beginner tomes of insight. Similar to all of the other dungeons as well, there was 16 of the fame/silver boosting pools. Looking at the fame, the total amount of fame that I received from the 100 dungeons was just over 16 million at 16.2 mil. This doesn't include any of the books that I got as drops or books from the fame chests. This comes out to around 1.3 million fame per hour. Comparing this to the 6.1 dungeons and normal 6 dungeons, it's a steady progression up in terms of fame and fame per hour. As you go up in tiers, the difference between 6.1s and 6.2s was around 30% bonus fame. Okay, moving on to take a look at the loot here. Similar to the other tier 6 dungeons I've done in the past, the overall quality of loot is quite low, although the quantity, similar to other maps I've had, was quite high. I actually filled 4 tabs almost completely full. And you'll see the weapons here, over 1 full tab for the weapons, which is pretty crazy. So looking at the weapons here, we didn't actually get anything super crazy for weapons. There wasn't anything super high tier or super valuable. Got like the 6.2 Masterpiece Morningstar, which is really good. I think I got tier 8 Heavy Crossbow, which is pretty good. At tier 8 Frost Staff and a 6.3 Frost Staff, which are pretty good as well. So only a little bit of tier 8, and you can see going to the second tab, again, more weapons. We got over a full tab of weapons, which is pretty crazy. Offhands, nothing good for offhands as usual. Helmets, nothing too good. Just a lot of like tier 6 and 7 stuff, only 1 tier 8 with the Guardian helmet there. Chest plates, some tier 8 equivalents with the Cleric robes, a lot of tier 7 equivalent in the leathers. However, for the plate armor chest pieces, we got really some good high tier ones with the 6.3 soldier armor, 2 tier 8 guardian armors, 7.2 guardian armor, just a tier 8 graveguard armor, quite a lot. And then the boots, it even gets even more crazy with the boots. We got an 8.2 mage sandals, 7.2 mage sandals, 2 8.1 mercenary shoes, and the flat 8 royal boots, which is quite crazy. So altogether, these 3 tabs full of gear come to a total of 10.58 million, which is quite a lot. Let's move on to the capes and bags, which I put in the first tab here. So for capes and bags, we got some quite high tier normal capes with some tier 8s, 7.2, 6.3, 5.3, pretty good capes there. Special capes, we got quite a lot of them, which is quite nice. We got 2 Limhurst capes, 2 Thetfords, 2 Keepers, a Morgana. Undead capes are very good. Bags, nothing too crazy for bags. We got the 7.3 bag, but then the rest of them weren't that great. So the 7.3 is really carrying the bag slot here, and Satchels of Insight. Again, nothing too crazy. A lot of low tier ones with 13 tier 4s and around 10, 11 tier 6s. And you can just ignore the stuff at the bottom here. It's not part of it. So the bags and capes together come to a total of 5.31 million. Let's moving on to the miscellaneous stuff to end off here. Silver bags, quite a lot of them. Again, maps give a lot of silver bags, coming to a total of 6.47 million for all of the silver bags here. And then for the other miscellaneous stuff, we got 144 tomes of insight, a nice decorative Morgana plate mail cape, which is quite rare but not really valuable that much. Maps, quite a lot of maps, 14 soul dungeon maps for tier 6, which is quite nice. Got a 6.3 soul dungeon map, 7.2, which are quite high tier, and then some group ones here as well. Moving on to the Runes Relic Souls, a lot of Runes Relic Souls as usual. We actually got some tier 8 ones this time, which was nice as well. Only 1 relic, but got 6 tier 8 souls and 18 tier 8 runes, as well as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,000 tier 4 runes, which is quite a high amount. And then the other random miscellaneous stuff, 15 Swift Rock Clubs, some treasures, and all of that stuff. Nothing too crazy. In total, the miscellaneous stuff comes to just over 10 mil at 10.08 million. So in total, our total value of all of the loot comes to just over 30 mil at 32.44 million. Interestingly, the loot from the 6.1 dungeons was actually just under that at 30.85 million, so it's not actually that much more, which is quite significant because we have to factor in the maps cost, and for 6.2 maps, the maps are quite expensive. Each map costs around 144k average, so the total map cost for the 100 maps was 14.4 million, which puts our profit down to 18.08 mil. This makes our total profit per hour 1.45 mil for the 6.2 dungeons, which is actually lower than it was for the 6.1 dungeons, which were at 1.76 mil an hour. So are 6.2 solo dungeons worth it? Well, I think the answer to that depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking in terms of wanting to make some good money per hour, they're definitely not better than 6.1 solo dungeons. 6.1s seem much better for money per hour. However, for fame, they do give a significantly higher amount of fame despite having lower cost. Compared to just doing normal 6 dungeons, however, they're just better in every way, so I would definitely suggest doing some type of map instead of the normal tier 6 dungeons. That being said, if you're looking for fame, it might be better just to do tier 7 or 7.1 maps, as those ones had quite high fame as well and are also pretty safe, although tier 6s can be a lot closer to portal zones and things like that, so it might be better to do 6.2s if you're worried about safety during travel. Anyways, that's it for this video, guys, so thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, and as always, make sure you subscribe to stay up to date with the channel. Thanks.